Good morning, real life traders. Give me a one if you can hear me okay. Jay, Gregory, good morning. Excellent. Good deal. All right. Happy Friday. Let's see what we're doing. Give me 1 second. All right. Morning, Will. Carrie Russell, good morning. Albert. We'll give everyone another 30 seconds to log in. Looks like we got Dan Jansen logging in. All right, you should be able to see my screen with futures. Just confirm that for me if you would, please. Give me a one if you can see it. Okay, thanks, Gregory. Okay, cool. All right, so let's take a look. What are we doing? So you can see S&P, NASDAQ, same look. It's going to be an inside day, it looks like. We have price action here on the S&P kind of sandwiched in between. This is the daily 50. Here's the daily 10, just kind of sitting right in between there. On the NASDAQ, we're below the daily 10, but either way, we are sitting inside of yesterday's price action. So we have looking for a inside day, which generally translates into chop. So, and you can see pre-market wise, if you look here, not a whole lot of movement, mostly sideways movement. We did, on both, we did get a little bit of a pop. It's funny, I went to a couple different sites and looked for what that little spike might have been. It must have been some type of announcement, but I went to a couple different sites and I didn't see anything material listed. So I'm not sure what caused that. But anyway, we're right back where we were, right? So it's just kind of looking at some sideways price movement, opening within yesterday's price action on the markets. So let's take a look let me pull up a different chart here. We start looking at our the 10 EMA tickers that we trade. Before we do though, real quick, let's just take a look. Let's just get a bigger picture here of the overall markets. Let's just maximize this. And let me zoom out a little bit here, just so we can kind of get an overall picture here, what we're looking like. So here you can see we are just, I've got this trend line drawn in here. We are just continuing this downward trajectory. And, could we get back up in here? We sure could. But, right now this trend line is pretty much following this. Here's the 200 on the daily, right? So in order to start turning this market around, we're going to have to get above this trend line. And we've already got rejected by it a couple times here, right? So we're just now still chopping around below this trend line. So and the NASDAQ is looking the same. So same exact look, right? Trend line, you've got the 200 here is a little bit higher, but still we have, here's the 50, it's kind of down sloping. Here's this trend line that's come through here. Pull this down a little bit more. So anyway, again, we're trading below this trend line. So we're going to have to break through that, get above that before we can start heading into hopefully what will result in a bullish market turnaround. But again, today, Friday, let's say Friday, October 28th, we have Halloween coming up. All right, let's take a look at our 10 EMA tickers. Doug's saying that the core PCI price index month over month stayed the same. Okay, so that might have been that little spike caused that. All right, let's take a look at NVIDIA. All right, so NVIDIA, we are, zoom in here a little bit. So got all my lines marked off. We've got the green lines, the high and the low from yesterday. The orange lines here, right here and here, which are over here and here, represent the high and the low of the pre-market. So one thing to note, hey Lucian, one thing to note here is this jagged line here. I have this purple line drawn right here. That is the weekly 200. So not surprising that the pre-market low was right about where the weekly 200 is. So just be aware of that. If you're looking to go short on NVIDIA today, just be aware you do have that support there. Let's see. That's the first, support area here. We do have, if we do end up moving bullish, I don't know that we will. We will have the daily 50 up in here, but I anticipate we're just going to be probably a lot of sideways movement today. Maybe just, maybe a dip below the 200 here, but back into it. So did want to point, Dan and I last night were hosting the 90-day masterclass trading master, but it's just interesting. I'll just zoom in here real quick because just different takes on the market. So Dan had taken a short here, and it's just interesting how, hey Tony, interesting how different traders can have different analysis, and we both can be right. Doesn't mean that one's not wrong and the other was right, and vice versa. So what was interesting here on this NVIDIA yesterday, here's a 3-minute chart. So Dan took a short here, and then I actually went long off of these candles right here. And then, but I didn't take this short, Dan didn't take this long, and then I got out right. My target was this is the daily 50. So that was my target to exit all. Normally when I'm trading, I'm taking off, like when I get to that target level, I take off 90% of my trade at 1.2 or 1.4, and then I hold on to the remaining 10% to see if it can run. But since the daily 50 was right here, I just took everything off here. But then, so that was my long, and then Dan ended up shorting here, had a great trade shorting. I think it was this candle that he shorted. But anyway, just, it's, you can, interesting how two different traders can have two different takes on the market, and you both can be right. So I actually did not take this short. Once I got filled here, I actually had to leave for an appointment. So I just took my my win and moved on with my day. All right, so that's NVIDIA. Let me, I will expand this a little bit. So again, if you look at NVIDIA, right? Same, again, drawing this trend line. This looks very similar to the one that we're looking for on the NASDAQ. So again, keep in mind right here, right? So a trend line can be penetrated, but this is not considered for the trend line to be broken, right? So price can get above that trend line and then come right back down into it. And that trend line is still intact. It's not broken. When it would be broken would be if price got above here, penetrated it, came down, retested it, then it made a new high. Then that trend line is broken. But right now, this trend line is holding. And you can see how strong this trend line is. And this is the same look as the NASDAQ had. NASDAQ, I think, had the same break here. One of them did, either the NASDAQ or the S&P. But again, trend lines can be penetrated, but they're not broken unless price continues above it or below it, depending on the trend line. But here, if we do get above this candle, so we're, there's right now, it's like, okay, if the market is near its bottom, if it's found its bottom, let's just assume that it has. This is just going to continue to build pressure right through here. Can go, either it can break above this trend line and then reverse the downtrend, or it can obviously find a new bottom. But let's, if we do anticipate that maybe the bottom in the market has been hit, just keep in mind, watch this over the next couple of weeks, just see how this pressure builds here, and if we can break above this trend line and then keep going. So today, looking at today's action on NVIDIA, right? So we are currently, let's see, price is currently 131. So we're right below the close from yesterday. So we'll see where we open. I will tell you that I'm going to be patient with trading. I'm not just going to jump into something right when the market opens. Fridays historically are my worst day to trade. So I do like to take it slow on a Friday, and I like to look for the best setups, the ones with the greatest probability of success. Let's take a look at Tesla. So again, Tesla, right? I don't have that trend line drawn here, but you can draw this trend line here, right? So you do have this trend line. We're way below it here. You can also, and also you can draw multiple trend lines. You don't have to have just one. Like if you were to take this trend line and come down here, right? The idea with the trend line is you want to have at least two or more points. Now you can see here on that second trend line that I just drew off of here, we're hitting a point here, and down here, right? So you have a couple of trend lines that you can draw just for reference. But let's zoom in. Take a closer look here. All right, so Tesla, currently right now we are trading, price action is within yesterday's range, right? So we're up in here, we're right around where this pre-market high is. That's where we're currently trading. So we're inside of yesterday's range. So, and again, I do expect just, a lot of chop today. Hey, good morning, Hector. Good to see you again. Buenos dias. I saw Hector an hour or so ago. But just keep in mind in terms of support resistance areas. So we do have here's the 20 on the daily. Here's the 10 exponential on the daily. So we do, price is kind of sandwiched in between those areas. But here's the high from yesterday, the low from yesterday. Not a whole lot here to look at. I mean, we are making off of the pre-market here, we are making higher highs and higher lows. But again, compared to where yesterday's high is, we are probably right about almost in the middle to the lower part of the range from yesterday. So we'll keep an eye on Tesla. Again, just going to be patient, see what happens when the market opens and how things start to shake out. So Amazon just getting wrecked, right? So we are talking price action way down here, right? So earnings, yeah, Hector says Amazon fell out of bed. So they beat estimates, right? But I didn't look at the earnings report, but maybe they lowered forecast or expectations for the future, and that's why it's down so much. But either way, you do have a gap down, right? But it's a big gap down. So keep that in mind. I mean, this could be a buying opportunity for Amazon, right? Because such a big gap down, there may be buyers down here looking to step in. And you can see here from the initial report that came out, how it just tanked. But since then, it's been climbing right now. So higher highs and higher lows throughout the post market yesterday. Today, just kind of going sideways. right? So there could be some buyers stepping in. You do have, let me zoom in a little bit here. In terms of moving averages, you do have, here's the 10 and the 20 up here, but pretty far away. Again, I'm probably, if I were looking to do anything with Amazon, I probably would look to fade it. My guess is, meaning I would look to take it, it's a gap down, but I would probably look to take it bullish. I just anticipate that based on what happened here on this low, that there are buyers looking to step in here and get Amazon at a bargain price. So plus it's a big gap down. So I would just be cautious of getting into a short there. Let's say yeah, so Lucian says the market seems to be shaking off Amazon, bad earnings. Yeah, so I mean, Amazon certainly isn't pulling the market down, right, necessarily. So it's, the market could just keep, if the market's going to be sideways moving inside day from yesterday, the market could just keep Amazon propped up. And Greg Hill saying that Amazon got saved by Apple. Yeah, so it's interesting. We'll get to Apple here in a second, but I mean, Apple, just same thing. Apple got just hammered post-market yesterday, and it's right back to within yesterday's range. So again, Amazon, if you're going to consider shorting it, just be aware there's probably going to be buyers stepping in. And again, that's the direction I would be looking to go on Amazon. Again, could be wrong. Hector saying that Pins, yeah, I see that Pins is up. Pins is up, what, 11% or so. I'm going to pull over my pre-market screener here in a second. This is not a, well, here, let's go AMD. So AMD. So we are looking at a potential gap down on AMD. We are, let's see, price is, here's the pre-market high right here. So it's just above yesterday's close, right? So right now we are trading just below yesterday's low. So we are looking at a potential gap down here on AMD, small one, but that would potentially put AMD into play right away. Again, I'm going to be patient. Let's see. So in terms of support resistance areas, so nothing, no major moving averages on the monthly here. So if I go to the monthly, all the monthly moving averages are above price action right now, right? You got the 100 way down here. So there's, I'm not going to be hitting that. So there's no major monthly or weekly moving averages in the way. You do have the, here's the daily 10 and the 20s here. Price action is down below that. Obviously there is some, if you just look through here, right, looking left, there is some support through here, right? So clearly an area where, this whole consolidation period here, where there were lots of lower wicks, battleground for sure in terms of the bulls and the bears. So just be aware of that also, that, somewhere through here, right? So somewhere around that 57.20, definitely some support there, right? So just be aware of that if you are looking to go short on AMD. You might very well, depending on your risk reward, you might get a run down into where these wicks went, but just be aware of that level right there. Not on our, this is not on our 10 EMA list, but I did notice that this gap down on PayPal. So retest gap, right? But it is, well, let's see, it's gotten above. So at one point when I was looking at it earlier, price action. So this is the, right here, this is the daily 100. Here is the daily 20. They're kind of stacked on each other. And when I looked at it earlier, price was below there. So it looks like we might even open near yesterday's low. So it may not even gap down. It is making higher highs and higher lows here, as you can see. So this may not end up even gapping, but just one that I had on my list that when I saw it earlier, it was trading underneath these moving averages. So I thought if it could open below there, maybe it could present a decent short. Okay, Apple. Again, not officially on our 10 EMA list. It had been, but still one that I like to watch and track. Lots of lines going on here. You're probably like, what in the world are we looking at? But anyway, all these lines translate into something, right? So, and again, all my lines, I use the same color for everything. So it doesn't matter. Like somebody may look at this and go, that's kind of confusing, but it's not at all to me because I use the same lines, the same colors for every single moving average. Just so when I'm looking at this right here on the lower time frame, I can see that this thick black line here, that is the monthly 20 EMA. So I know if I'm going to get into a trade and I'm looking to go short, I've got a major moving average right down here. And that happens to be also where pre-market basically bounced off of. And now we're pushing higher. So let me adjust a couple lines here. I did these earlier. All right. So right now, price right now is kind of sandwiched in between. This line right here, this blue line, this right here, that I know that's because this is a kind of a jagged line. That's the weekly 100. So I've got the weekly 100 here. You've got the daily 10 here, the daily 20, and then here's the monthly. This is the monthly 20. So you do have price sandwiched between some higher time frame moving averages. So just again, could be just a lot of chop today, back and forth. Here was the low, right? All the way down here, right? But look, just got bought up, right? Price came down here and then buyers just stepped in and we are right back up into where we were yesterday. So kind of a non-event here in terms of the earnings. Could have, if we opened down here, would have been a big gap down, but we are right back into yesterday's price range. So again, with Apple, I'll keep an eye on it. I'm going to be patient. I'm not going to be jumping in right away. We could just see a lot of just sideways action on all these tickers today. Let me pull over real quick. There. Before I do that, let's take a look at Roblox and Airbnb on the they're on the 10 EMA list, but they are not. We can't trade them in the funded account. But we'll just take a look. I mean, inside again, here's yesterday's price action. So we are right inside 46.36. So we're right inside of yesterday's price action here. So we would have to get above the high here from yesterday up here, right? Or below the low. But right now we're just inside day right now. It's not gapping. You do have room to, either bullish or bearish, right? You do have some room to go here. Let's actually, let me zoom out a little bit on this. Let's get a bigger look on the daily. So I'm just curious. I haven't taken a look here. So if we look here, if we were just to use this trend line, just these 2 points here, kind of a smaller micro trend line. We did break above it. We got above it. We came down. This could be the retest of it right here, and now we're above. So, potentially this micro trend line here is broken. But if we look to the overall, Roblox could, it's let's see. To have this, so this is the weekly 50 here, and that is lining up with this overhead resistance. So you would also want to be, again, we're not going to hit that today, but you would want to be aware of that if, once you do get up into this area where this moving average is, and then also this, you can clearly see here throughout this area here, this is all some pretty good overhead resistance that you'd have to get through. Yeah, Lucian's asking about the if anyone knows the answer to that one. I'm not sure. I don't know the answer, Lucian. Take a look at Airbnb. All right, so Airbnb looks like we could have a potential gap down. And Hector's saying INTC gap and go. Okay, we'll take a look at that in a second. So here, Airbnb, if you're looking to trade Airbnb, it looks like we could have a potential gap down. Potential, right? So it looks like we're right up to the low from yesterday. But do keep in mind here, be aware of your moving averages. So you have the daily 100 down here, 109.90. Okay, so basically right where it bounced pre-market, right? So just be aware of that. Let's take a look at INTC. Go to a smaller time frame. All right, so INTC. So this could be one that we could be the wild card, right? It's gap and go. So big bear candle yesterday. Let's see. So earnings. So aftermarket. Okay. So that's why it's so sold off yesterday, but it's gapping up today. Let's see where we are. Let's drop in some lines here. All right. So yesterday's high. Obviously, there's some overhead resistance here. Yeah, Hector saying looks like they beat earnings. Let's see this. Yeah, yep. So earnings estimate was 34, actual 59. Let's drop in a couple more lines. So we want to see, I would make this orange just to represent the pre-market high. We want to be aware of this right here, 2902. So some room to go, right? Depends on where you get into this trade. If you were going to get into it, you just want to be aware. This was also another level you want to keep an eye on. This was a post-market high from yesterday, pre-market high today, and then you have the daily 50 here. So if you do get into a trade, just be aware of those levels so that when you look at your risk versus reward, you want to be able to have. It doesn't mean it can't go through these levels, obviously, right? But you want to be able to see that you have at least the risk to reward ratio that you want before you get to these, because these are definitely levels where you will want to take some off, right? If not all. So be aware of that. So I'll keep, I'm going to add INTC to my list, to my charts down here. So that could be a wild card since it's a gap and go. Let me pull over. I'll show you here's my pre-market gap scanner, right? So this is from Interactive Brokers. So this is what I'm using to look for gaps each day. Not as many, there's a bunch of gap down. There's a decent amount, right? So we could take a look at some of these. Let me move this off. What I typically do when I'm looking at this is, there's going to be a lot of tickers here that you won't even recognize. So instead of going through all of them, I just kind of look at the ones that I know that I've traded before. And then I also try to focus on the ones that are gapping like 2 to 7%. Like I'm typically, like I know somebody already mentioned pins, right? So if you go to pins, take a look at pins. Yes, gap up, but it's already gapping up. It's 11% up 11% right now, right? So the current price 24.62, right? So I look at it's up, current price is up in here. So I look at a gap like that and I think, okay, well, but it hasn't made its move pre-market, right? Is it going to have more intraday to move? And you just have to watch it and see, but you have to, I'm always cautious of gaps that are greater than 10%, right? Because then the question is, has it made its move, and is it just going to go just chop and go sideways? All right, so that was the bell. I'm going to sign off from YouTube. Appreciate all of you being here. You can, again, as Dan mentions, you can be with us any given day. You just have to go over to reallifetrading.com. Love to have you join the community. It's a great group of traders, and we trade together every single day. So everyone out in there in YouTube land, have a great weekend, and good luck trading today. Yeah. Go to a different screen here. All right. So here's the screen where I have everything that I